This is a 1999 Plymouth Prowler. It is the single strangest production car to come out of the 1990s, and today I'm going to show you exactly why. I'm going to start this with a little discussion of the 1990s. Cars in the 1990s were bland. The BMW M3 had only 240 horsepower. The top-line Toyota Camry had only 190 horsepower. Cars looked like this and this and this and this. And then Chrysler, whose bland cars are possibly the blandest of them all, says, oh, by the way, we're going to build this, and it's going to be purple. This particular Prowler comes to me from Rayco Eurospec, a dealership here in Pennsylvania with an awesome inventory of weird and exciting cars. And this one is one of the weirdest and most exciting, since it's a one-owner car with only 9,400 original miles. So first, I'm going to show you around and explain why it was so weird, and then I'm going to take it for a spin.
First, a little overview. The Prowler is a rear-wheel drive two-seater, and it was sold from 1997 to 2002. Every Prowler used a 4-speed automatic transmission mated to a 3.5-liter V6. Early models had 214 horsepower, but in 1999 it bumped to 253 horses. So this one can do 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. Back in 1999, the starting price was $40,000, and Prowlers have held their value well. This one is offered for $31,900.
But let's go back to that 3.5-liter V6, because the most unusual quirk about the Prowler is just how much it shares with other Chrysler products. You see, it would have been too expensive for cash-strapped Chrysler to engineer everything on this car from scratch. And so
the Prowler's V6 comes from the Chrysler 300M. So does the 4-speed automatic transmission, although the gear lever itself is out of the Dodge Intrepid. The Prowler's steering wheel comes from the Jeep Grand Cherokee. The Prowler's center climate vents, you'll find them in Chrysler's minivans. The Prowler's stereo is straight out of a few 90s Chryslers, including the Dodge Durango. The Prowler's interior door handle came from the Dodge Viper. The Prowler's key fob came from a few 90s Chryslers, like the Dodge Ram pickup. And the window switches, mirror controls, and turn signal stalk are all out of basically every 90s Chrysler.
So a lot of the Prowler came from the Chrysler parts bin, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it had to. If they wanted to make it look like this, they had to keep costs down somewhere. And now here are the other quirks of the Plymouth Prowler. Now, we'll start with one of the strangest quirks about the car, which is the entire trunk situation. To open the trunk, you don't push a button on the key fob or pull a lever inside the car. Instead, you push a little yellow unlabeled button behind the driver's seat. And once you've pushed that yellow button, in order to open the trunk, it's not hinged like a normal trunk. Instead, the hinges are near the bumper. So to open the trunk, this is it. This is the only way to get into the trunk in a Plymouth Prowler. Now, once you're inside the trunk, you'll find that there's really not all that much room here, although it could be worse. The convertible top, for example, doesn't really take up any space at all. Up front, you'll find the single craziest thing about the Prowler, and that is these front fenders, tires, and wheels. When you turn the steering wheel, the front fenders, which are separate from the vehicle, actually turn with it. So when you turn the car, you're also turning bodywork. Even stranger, when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can see the bodywork turn on this side of the car while you're making a turn. You can't, however, see it on the passenger side. It's blocked from your view. So when you drive down the road, you know exactly where this corner of the car is, and you just kind of have to hope that the other corner of the car is where you think it is.
The other weird thing about the Prowler's wheels being detached is that it leaves a lot of important stuff exposed if people want to mess with you.
Now, another weird quirk is the packaging under the hood. Because of this car's strange front-end V shape, Plymouth just had to kind of fit stuff where it fit. And so the hood prop is actually on the hood itself. The hood latch is located in the middle of the hood, and then there's a pull tab that reaches out to the front. And then my personal favorite is the battery, which is located ahead of everything at the very front tip of the Prowler. You also can't talk about the Prowler without mentioning the front bumpers, which sort of protrude from the front of the car. It's one of the Prowler's most distinctive design characteristics. My favorite thing about the Prowler's front bumper, you can stick your hand through it. I'm not really sure why, but I like it. Also mounted on the front bumper, the turn signals. And just in case that wasn't enough indicating power for you, there's also a set of turn signals mounted on the front fenders. Now in back, the turn signals and brake lights are located here on the rear fender, but the giant protruding rear bumpers do contain the reverse lights. One of the other things I love about this car is the placement of the fuel door. Now there's so much crazy, wild bodywork in this thing that Plymouth could really only put the fuel door in one spot. And so, that's where it is.
Another weird touch is this strange prowling cat logo, which appears on the steering wheel, on the seats, under the hood, and nowhere else on the car.
Now there's more obvious badging around back. Although there's nothing on the trunk that indicates what this car is to curious onlookers, the protruding bumpers say Plymouth Prowler in a fancy script. Now one of the things I really like about this car is the gauges. They're located in the center, but the thing that I really like is that the area surrounding them is color matched to the exterior color. Porsche would charge you $2,000 for that. Something about the Prowler that you probably could have guessed, but I'm going to tell you anyway. There is absolutely no headroom in this car with the top up. I'm 6'3", and well, watch this. Fortunately, you don't have to drive around in this car with the top up. You can always put it down. It's a pretty easy process. Just unlatch it from the windshield like in a normal car, then unlatch it from the back using a latch right below the glass. Then find that yellow button to open the trunk, push the top away, close the trunk, and you're driving around in top-down style. So that's a comprehensive tour of the Prowler, and now it's time to take it on the street, which is something I've always wanted to do. You see, car enthusiasts have something of mixed opinions about the Prowler because it was only an automatic and it only has 250 horsepower. But for me, this car was always a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I always thought it was really cool and really crazy looking, and I've always wanted to drive one, and now I'm going to. And for more of my thoughts, click the link below to check out my column on autotrader.com/oversteer.
All right. Top down the Prowler. It's 22 degrees today, which is perfect top down weather. It's not actually, but you can't drive a Prowler and not be top down. I can't see that fender, so I have no. And the problem is that's the end of the car, so I can see where the hood ends, but I don't know where that side of the car is. And the mirrors are so small. They're so small. You catch the car in like the reflection, and it's like, I can't believe I'm driving this thing. I mean, I've driven a lot of weird cars, but this is just so bizarre looking. It just looks like nothing else on the road. All right, the ride quality is horrid. It bumps around like crazy. All right, I'm going 50. I'm gonna nail it. Power, but the 4-speed, it could use more gears. Rigidity is rough. The windshield shakes. It bumps going over bumps for sure. Even though it only has 9,000 miles on it, at the end of the day, it's a 1997 automobile. So rigidity isn't going to be along the lines of a modern Miata or something like that. Boy, the ride quality is, it just bumps and bumps and bumps. But that's part of the charm. I mean, you put up with stuff like that to drive weird cars. You know, Lamborghinis are loud and they're hard to get into. This thing is the bad ride quality, but if you want a cool, weird car, you got to deal with that kind of stuff. If you want a Camry, buy a Camry. I actually have about as much room in this as I do in my Viper, which is to say, not that much, but it's not intolerable. I'm 6'3". With the top up, I think we'd be doing one of these. But with the top down, actually, seriously, it's really not all that bad. It looks smaller, I think, inside than it really is. Handling is actually fairly direct. It's not vague, which is kind of surprising to me. After all, we are in a 20-year-old Chrysler with an engine from the 300M. There's no body roll. I guess that's the benefit of having the bad ride quality. It doesn't wallow, this car. It feels how you kind of would want it to feel. But clearly the weak link, there's no doubt about it, is the automatic transmission. Not only is it only 4 speeds, it's just not as quick as I mean, we've just moved on. Everybody now has dual clutches and all that stuff, and so you drive this and you wish it was a stick. Sticks don't really go out of style, but a 4-speed automatic, 20 years later, it's kind of weak. I really think if it had like a 6-speed auto, we'd probably take another half second off the 0 to 60 time. It's so funny to see that wheel bump as we go over bumps. I'm literally watching the front wheel hop in front of me as we go over bumps. It's bouncing like a basketball, that wheel. It's so funny. The truth is, of course, in a normal car, that's what the wheel does. You just don't see it. But it's so weird to see it. And not only seeing it, but I see the fender going too. Even if I lean forward, I can't see that wheel. So you just got to kind of hope and dream. I'm sure Prowler owners get to know the sides of the car. Boy, with the visor literally blocks the entirety of the windshield. I would kill for the speedometer to be right in front of me. Instead, I'm looking at the tach, but I'm driving around on 4-speed auto. I don't care what the tach says. And the funny thing is, the speedometer, because of my angle, this half of the speedometer is kind of out of view. Like, I can see the part that says 150 a lot better than I can see the part that says 40, which isn't really what I'm looking for. It is funny how open it feels. As you look to the side to turn and stuff, it's amazing. There's just nothing around you. It's just open car. And the rear, unlike a lot of modern convertibles, the rear slopes off very dramatically. A lot of them, modern convertibles, the deck actually gets higher. In this thing, it's just like, see you later. So you look back there and there is nothing. It's a very interesting feeling. It's kind of cool. A lot of times I drive these cars and I'm not really surprised. Drive a Lamborghini, you know what it's gonna be like. This car, I'm surprised at how well it handles and how bad the ride is. The ride is so rough, but the handling is like, I thought it'd be smidging and all over the place, and I thought this car was only just a sort of a style play. That's not really true. It actually kind of feels fun. It's almost like they were trying to build an actual sports car here.
So here's the thing about the Prowler. It's crazy looking, and I loved that. It handles pretty well, and I like that a lot too. And while a lot of people say this car is underpowered, that's not really true. No, it doesn't have a V8, but the Prowler has 250 horsepower, and it only weighs 2,800 pounds. That's a better power to weight ratio than a BMW 340i, and it should be enough. Unfortunately, performance is depressingly dulled by the Prowler's 4-speed automatic transmission, but I really think that a stick shift or even a newer automatic would completely change the character of this car. Either way, that's the Plymouth Prowler, and for those of you who lived through the automotively drab 1990s and always wondered about this thing, well, now you know a little bit more about it. In order to keep costs down, you probably can't even see my forehead right now. 50 horsepower. But I have always thought this is one of the, I don't remember what I thought.